Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to this very special, probably mega review of Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame together for the first time. We are reviewing both movies together, and what's that? I've already reviewed them both individually on my main channel. What's going to be my big 21st birthday review then, What's that? I've still got the last two episodes of Doctor Who Series 4 to review, and they're in an Infinity War style crossover event. Okay, let's do that. Okay, hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my review of Doctor Who Series 4 Episodes 12 and 13, The Stolen Earth and Journey's End, or in other words, the Infinity War Endgame of Doctor Who. This is the biggest and most ambitious Doctor Who story since the Trial of the Time Lord in 1986. I was about to say 89 for some reason. And the most successful, big and ambitious Doctor Who story since the War Games in 1969. So, how successful is this story then? Wow. It's difficult to even begin. Let's start where the story starts. The plot sees the Doctor and Donna return to Earth on a regular Saturday morning, but once they go back inside the TARDIS, the Earth is then stolen by the Daleks as part of their big engine to create their reality bomb, which basically turns everything into nothing, besides the Daleks themselves. And they've got 26 other planets and moons and to help power the reality bomb, including Pyrovilia, Adipose 3, and the lost moon of Poosh, which have been mentioned to be missing throughout the series, as well as references to previous planets mentioned in previous series, such as Woman Wept in Boomtown, and Clom from Love and Monsters. So, with a whole bunch of planets and moons and stuff, stolen by the Daleks to create the engine, the Doctor and Donna have to travel to the Shadow Proclamation to find out what's happened and where they've gone, as the Earth was moved once the TARDIS was fixed. And unlike Resurrection of the Daleks and Revelation of the Daleks, where the Daleks and Davros went out of their way to make sure the Doctor and his companions turned up, in this story, the Daleks and Davros, oh yeah, he's back, I'll talk about that later, they go out of their way to make sure the Doctor doesn't interfere with their plans this time round, and in a nice change of pace. However, with the Doctor now out of, not able to do anything at the moment, he has to go to the Shadow Proclamation. This leaves his allies on Earth to have to take up the battle for him. As we see Martha Jones, Captain Jack Harkness with Torchwood members Gwen Cooper and Yantu Jones, Sarah Jane Smith with her adopted son Luke Smith and their computer Mr. Smith, and Donna's mum Sylvia and grandfather Wilf. Not to mention Rose Tyler has now eventually gotten back to our reality to help fight the Daleks and find the Doctor. So, this episode mostly focuses on the Doctor's allies on Earth having to team up together to fight the Daleks and find the Doctor and bring him back to Earth, whilst he and Donna go to the Shadow Proclamation with help from them and the Jadoon to locate Earth, as well as work out what's going on. And there's a nice time with the bees disappearing storyline ends up here, where they realise that some of the bees are aliens and they've been using something known as the Tandoka Trail to escape a threat that they are aware of coming, which is this one. And they've managed to use it to escape. So they follow that to the Medusa Cascade, also referenced a few times in the show, same for the Shadow Proclamation, to try and find the missing planets and moons, which leads them to basically, the Medusa Cascade, but it turns out there's nothing there. But it turns out it's actually a second in time. They're always a second out of time, basically maybe a second forward, so they've just missed it. And on Earth, Martha uses this Project Indigo to escape from New York to return home. We get a few scenes with Francine, and she teams up with Torchwood, Sarah Jane, and Harriet Jones, bringing them all together to start up a group, to help find the Doctor, with Rose also watching on but not being able to interact. So, amongst the companions and allies, they manage to find a way to call the Doctor back down to Earth, but it does put Harriet in danger as the Daleks would detect the subway network, which is, without the whole thing that they did was undetectable. It was also created by the Mr. Copper Foundation. Nice reference to Mr. Copper. Also, Harriet sadly does die in the TV canon with when the Daleks find and exterminate her. Although in Russell T Davies' poem book, I think he does say that somehow she escapes through a trap door or something. Whether or not this you can count this as canon, as far as the TV series is concerned, it's not canon. Though, if any expanded media story would like to take to make it canon, please by all means go ahead. Maybe one of the audios or one of the books might want to do it. Or the comics, they seem to be doing a lot of odd storylines now and again. Anyway, so the Doctor is brought back to Earth, and it's revealed that Davros is working with the Daleks. He has been rescued by Dalek Khan, the last survivor of the Cult of Skaro, and he's managed to save Davros from the Time Lord against all odds. And he's now created a new race of Daleks. And this is the first time in 20 years we've seen Davros since Remembrance of the Daleks in 1988. It's also the first time in 20 years we have a Supreme Dalek. Since Remembrance as well. This time, a fantastic red one. Oh, this one might actually be my favourite. Big, chalky red with gold bits from each of the four sides and a further light at the back. He's so brilliant. I'm also glad that they brought him back for the 2015 series, Series 9 2 opener, The Magician's Apprentice and The Witch's Familiar, the next Davros story. Because he looks so beautiful. I do like the gold, not the gold one, the white Paradigm Dalek, and also the black and silver one from Remembrance, and also the gold, black, greeny one. Is it a little bit green? Supreme Council Dalek from Planet. But the best one has to be this fantastic red one. It's so beautiful. And so really cool. I mean, he does stand. He doesn't really do an awful lot. He does stand on a bridge, but he does get a couple of exterminations in, and he does get to fly towards the end of the second episode. So anyway, the Doctor is brought back down to Earth, and everyone tries to go out and try and find him. With Rose being the most successful, then Jack. With Sarah Jane finding herself caught by Daleks, and Torchwood is under siege from the Daleks as they are, as the subwave network's now transferred to them. Meanwhile, Martha Jones carries on with her mission to use the Osterhagen key, entrusted by her, to use as a final act against the Daleks. And that's basically episode 12, The Stolen Earth, and then we move on into episode 13, Journey's End. Oh, hang on, did I just miss something? Did I miss something crucial, something important? Something cliffhangery. Oh yeah, there's about 3 cliffhangers all at once. For starters, we've got a lone Dalek just shooting the Doctor, so he has to regenerate in the TARDIS with Rose, Jack, and Donna present. Secondly, you've got Torchwood under siege from the Daleks with Gwen and Yanto fighting it all out. Nice references to Owen Harper and Toshiko Sato, who passed away in the last episode of Torchwood Series 2, so they're not here. Also not here, Maria and Clyde, Maria Jackson and Clyde Langer from the Sarah Jane Avengers, they're not here either. Which is just as well, because these episodes are getting a bit stuffed with characters, and Torchwood and Sarah Jane supporting characters even get sidelined in episode 13. So it's probably just as well that Maria and Clyde weren't in this episode, or Owen and Tosh. Otherwise, the story could be even more stuffed. And K9 also makes a cameo at the end of episode 13, but again, it's just as well he wasn't in the entire story, because it would be a bit too crowded, especially once episode 13 puts the side characters to the literal side and focuses on the main characters. And even then, the main characters get sidelined towards the end as well, in favour of the main characters. More on that later. But yeah, as I was saying, cliffhangers, and yeah, Sarah Jane gets cornered by Daleks. But the biggest one is obviously the Doctor regenerating mid-story, as we all wondered who was going to be the next Doctor, who was replacing David Tennant in the next episode, although he was supposedly in that episode. Well, after the longest week of waiting as far as the fans and the audiences were concerned, Journey's End finally arrived and brought with us the revelation. And it was actually a pretty good one. The Doctor sent his regeneration energy into his handy spare hand that he's always been kept, holding on to the TARDIS since he got it back from Jack last series. And he just healed himself, and that he just does that. At the time, this didn't count as an actual regeneration. This was still the 10th Doctor, the 10th incarnation, 10th body. At this point, there was just 10 Doctors. He wasn't regenerating into the 11th until the end of time, part 2. However, the time of the Doctor then happened and counted this as an actual regeneration. Yeah. With the 10th Doctor actually being the 11th incarnation due to the War Doctor, and now he's on his 12th, or rather the 11th body, but the 12th life. Yeah. Okay, I don't like that, but that's more of a problem with the time of the Doctor rather than the Stolen Earth Journey's End. The Stolen Earth Journey's End, if it was a regeneration that did not count, if it was just a good but quick way to resolve that cliffhanger without having to change anything, without the Doctor having to regenerate, without having it count as an actual regeneration, like when the 11th and 12th Doctors just produce regeneration energy willy-nilly. Basically, if it was just that, that's fine, that's acceptable, that's perfect even. But to count it as an actual / aborted regeneration. But this is more of a blame to Stephen Moffat and the time of the Doctor rather than Russell T Davies and this story. Because because Stephen just wanted to do the last Doctor story early instead of waiting till Capaldi's final adventure. I think that would have been much more enjoyable than Twice Upon a Time as well. Now with the whole Timeless Children thing, whilst I personally think the Doctor's regenerations were capped to 13 lives when regenerated back into a child or whatever, when the division were done with them, and they started from the first incarnation that grew up into the William Hartnell incarnation, and then had 12 more regenerations, and then got another set of lives at the end of the time the Doctor, so that they would carry on. That's my theory. That's how I like to think of it, unless Series 13 confirms otherwise when we get to that. But as far as I'm aware, they regenerate the Timeless Child back into a child, and we get the Doctor starts from there. So the Doctor does have 13 lives once again, and this would be we are now onto the penultimate life with the 2nd, 10th Doctor, with the 11th Doctor getting a new set of lives at the end of the time of the Doctor, which means he now has a new set of lives, which we are currently on the 2nd of, currently with Jodie Whittaker. But on the other hand, if I'm wrong and Doctor has unlimited regenerations, full stop, without the Time Lords capping it off for the new life, then this would work as a regeneration, an aborted regeneration, but I still don't like the idea of it counting as another life, a 2nd 10th Doctor life. I think how it was absolutely fine. How it was in this two-parter originally before it was changed in 2013. I think it was absolutely fine, and again, with the Timeless Child stuff, it does sort of do a kind of a compromise that isn't preferably favourable. If it was up to me, I would, I'd say once with the Timeless Child, they regenerate the Doctor back into a child or a baby or whatever, and then we start from scratch once again. And depending on where Jo Martin's Doctor, if she is a past Doctor between the 1st and 13th Doctors, I would remove this regeneration to include her in here, or follow someone else's, another theory I've heard, where they say that the Doctor was given another incarnation, so if they didn't remember Jo Martin's Doctor, then they got another regeneration, so they wouldn't think they had an odd number. And so this 2nd David Tennant's Doctor would be that last incarnation, but Matt Smith was the extra one that was added on, so he's technically the last. Although, on the other hand, if Jo Martin turns out to be a future Doctor, then this regeneration stands. Especially if I'm right about them regenerating the Timeless Child back into a child, and we start from there with a new life as the Doctor. Whatever the case, we're all screwed, because Stephen Moffat couldn't wait one more incarnation to do the final Doctor story. Oh, I fucking hate that. And I don't think the Timeless Child stuff is going to help sort that out, unless Ruth really is a Doctor between 1 and 13 that they don't remember, and they try to have they take this one out because of that. But to be honest, that's another one I'm not entirely certain about whether that works or not, and would prefer her to be the 14th Doctor. Oh boy, it's just gone nuts. Oh boy. Maybe another hidden Doctor could actually work, to be honest, if we got rid of this regeneration. But I'm not sure now. As it is in the story, it works, but from the context we got later down the line of it being as counted as a natural regeneration. Yeah. And we're not certain where the Timeless Child storyline is going at the moment, so we can't use that as a way to help us. Not 100% anyway. Like I said, in any way we look at it, we're screwed. Okay, moving on with the actual plot of the story. So after the Doctor's aborted regeneration, well, he healed himself. He didn't change. Why would he? Look at him. This also is one of the most notable moments of the 10th Doctor being pretty vain before the end of time. And so he and the Rose, Jack, and Donna are then captured by the Daleks and sent up to the Crucible. Sarah Jane is rescued by Mickey and Jackie, and Torchwood are saved by Tosh from beyond the grave, having created a time lock to prevent them from being exterminated by Daleks and maybe any other hostile aliens that come down to Torchwood Base. Shame it didn't stop the bomb in Series 3, but oh well. But yeah, basically the cliffhangers are resolved pretty coolly. Sarah Jane teams up with Mickey and Jackie, and they go to get captured by the Daleks so that they can deliberately follow the Doctor to the ship. Torchwood's safe, which is good, but then there's sideline towards the end, which is bad, as is Luke and Mr. Smith. We don't even see them at the start of this episode, to be honest. And Martha heads to Germany to continue her mission, where she meets, well, first of all, we see and hear German Daleks. Fantastic work by Nicholas Briggs. Also, first Nazis in Germany since the end of the Second World War, apart from many neo-Nazis and those unable to accept the war is over. That statement was supposed to be humorous, but in all honesty, it could also be pretty serious. If you feel upset about that, sorry. But anyway, Martha has the Osterhaken key, and she goes to threaten the Daleks about using it. Whilst the Daleks send Donna and the TARDIS into the heart of the Crucible, which is a neutron sun or something, neutron core, something or another, but something that will destroy the TARDIS with its defenses down. So Donna has to touch the Doctor's spare hand that with the regeneration energy creates a duplicate Doctor, the Metacrisis Doctor, who a half human, half Time Lord Doctor who is able to save the TARDIS just in time. Again, the regeneration would also be important for this plot point of the story. It's just a shame that later down the line it counted as a proper regeneration. Again, this wasn't a problem with this story. This was something that was mentioned later on. Also, Jack gets exterminated by the Supreme Dalek when he tries to shoot at it. Probably deliberately badly, because probably knows that the Daleks won't take bullets, so he probably does it on purpose so he can find a way to help the Doctor and Rose without being seen by the Daleks, without being their prisoner. Anyway, so moving on. Jack eventually finds Sarah Jane, Mickey, and Jackie after they escape from the reality bomb testing, and the duplicate Doctor and Donna start to realise that the duplicate Doctor has taken a bit of Donna inside of him. He's now a bit, as he's now part human, he's taken quite a bit of Donna, which makes him a little bit sassy in places. I think, is it sassy? Well, definitely Donna talk, and they realise, well, it's theorised in Turn Left that there's been a bit of quite a bit of coincidence between the two of them, but now right here, right now, he pretty much works out that it's more than a coincidence. They have been brought together somehow. Some mysterious forces binded them together to save the universe. Meanwhile, the real Doctor and Rose are prisoners of Davros and Dalek Khan. And we get some pretty good taunting from Davros around this point, where he pretty much taunts the Doctor without having to rant, although he does rant at places and goes really over the top. And Julian Beach is perfect. He's the fourth actor to play Davros, but honestly, he rivals Michael Wisher to be my second favourite after Terry Malloy, who was just pitch perfect in the first place. But Julian Beach is just outstanding as Davros. He's just so good. He manages to capture the role perfectly and does a magnificent job. Beach had previously played a character in Torchwood Series 2, Episode 10, Out of the Rain. He was really good there, and that was March of 2008. Now, June, July, he's Davros, and he will reprise the role in September 2015 in The Magician's Apprentice and The Witch's Familiar. He would also appear in the Sarah Jane Adventures story The Nightmare Man in 2010, which is the Series 4 two-parter from that story. Well, they're all two-parters in the two-part stories in the Sarah Jane Adventures, apart from Invasion of the Bane, which is a single part, but it's the same length as an hour-long special. So when I say two-parter, that's pretty much the usual length of a Sarah Jane Adventures story. But yeah, in the first 2 episodes of Series 4, he played the Nightmare Man, and he's really great in all 3 of his Doctor Who universe roles. But my particular favourite is, of course, Davros, and it's so good that we got him twice, and hopefully if he does come back a 3rd time, it will be Julian Beach again. I was so happy to see him reprise the role of Davros when Davros returned in 2015. He also becomes the 2nd actor to play the character on screen more than once, with that 2nd appearance after Terry Malloy. Although I think Malloy's the only one who's done it in audio. Well, also Rory Jennings as young Davros, and Colin Baker as Davros as the Doctor, I think. But as the Davros we all know and love / hate, it's Terry Malloy at the moment. Also, it's worth mentioning that Davros has got himself a metal hand, which is a nice callback to Revelation of the Daleks, where he got his hand shot off. I also think that because he's got this metal hand, him being able to shoot electricity from it is better done here because he's got the metal hand than having the power to shoot electricity or whatever from his normal hand in Revelation. I'm not sure how that would have worked, but I think it works better here with his metal claw hand we see in this story, because it makes a lot more sense that he would have the power from his claw hand and fry someone with the electricity power from it than a normal hand. Although I'm still a bit. That being said, he didn't fix his other arm. I mean, yeah, it was crushed in his accident, but he didn't have some sort of robotic replacement for that, like the other hands. Oh, well, if he can only replace the one hand, he may as well replace the hand that was attached to the arm that can actually move, and allows him to do stuff. So Davros has the Doctor and Rose prisoner, and then Martha makes her demands. Then Jack, Mickey, Sarah Jane, and Jackie also come in, threatening to blow up the Crucible with Sarah Jane's warp star, which was given to her by a Varian soothsayer, which was mentioned in Whatever Happened to Sarah Jane Smith, the Series 1-2 story that I mentioned in the last review, where she had the box which she gave to Maria, which she used to which she had when the trickster tries to erase Sarah Jane from time and replace her with Andrea in that story, and Maria remembered. And then it was also a bit of a crucial plot point in The Temptation of Sarah Jane Smith, the series afterwards. So this Varian soothsayer has given Sarah Jane this Wharf Star to use for the end of days. Oh, that's the title of Torchwood Series 1's finale. But in this case, Sarah is suggesting that they use it to blow up the Crucible so that they can prevent the Daleks from taking over the universe. And the Doctor's soul is revealed, as Dalek Khan predicted, as he's now kind of a bit upset that he turned his friends into warriors, basically, people who'd threatened to kill. We sort of saw hints of that with Martha as a member of the unit, as almost a soldier-like member as well, despite being a doctor in the Sontaran two-parter, but now it's come to the forefront. And as Dalek Khan says, the Doctor's soul is revealed, and Davros tries to use the fact that he's lost so many people over the course, or certainly of the new series, over the last 4 years, as some sort of emotional attack on him. Basically, it's the exact opposite to what the point of Series 1 was, where the Doctor was inspiring people to help save the universe. This is now showing the darker side, where the Doctor loses people in order to help save the universe. Whew! That's actually quite big. But I must now say that this is where the story starts to get a bit crowded. It does get a lot crowded and a lot pretty quick paced, as the Daleks cheat and bring the companions to be prisoners in the vault, and then the duplicate Doctor turns up to just as the Daleks are prepared to use their reality bomb. He's designed this weapon to use against Davros, but he's stomped by Davros and then Donna as well, and then that activates the Time Lord side stuff in Donna. It was a two-way meta-crisis thing, causing her to be a human Time Lord, and also having the best traits of the Doctor as a human. And the way she stops everything is pressing buttons. Okay. Everything up to this point, besides maybe sidelining the supporting characters from the spin-offs, which is understandable though, everything was working so really good. This was such a fantastic story so far. And now we come to the climax where, okay, the story's gotten a bit too big for itself, and now the result is basically pressing buttons and to stop Davros, stop the Daleks, stop the reality bomb. Basically, everything's just stop buttons. And with Donna and the two doctors sending home the planets, the companions are therefore having to just push and shove and kick Daleks around. Although it is pretty cool having Captain Jack saying a couple of cool quips every now and again. I love his line when he first makes his demands. He's calling all Daleks boys and girls. He's so funny. But he gets quite a few good lines. And also, it's pretty cool to see Mickey pointing a gun at Davros. That's really cool. And the confrontation with the Supreme Daleks, also pretty cool. And the final bit where the Doctor and companions have to take her back in the TARDIS. Great stuff. We'll get back onto that in a second. But first, the duplicate Doctor pretty much sets the Daleks, pretty much blows up the Daleks. Again, it's a bit rushed as well. And I mean, I get the point because this Doctor is born in war. And he decides that genocide is the only way for the Daleks to be stopped. But it is done a bit quickly as well. The Daleks are just blown up, basically, from the inside. Yeah, it does feel like the episode is trying to wrap itself up quickly, and we've still got quite a bit of time to say goodbye to the companions and everyone before, so yeah, it does feel like it's in a bit of a hurry. Maybe if the episode was 75 minutes, maybe it would have been a bit better to calm down a little bit, maybe to ease it out. Perhaps it's 65 minutes episode, which is the longest of the regular episodes, non-specials. So far, it's the first time it's gone beyond the 45-minute mark for a regular episode, or the 45 to 50-minute mark. But yeah, it's 65 minutes, but it's still got lots and lots and lots to do. So maybe it should have been 75 minutes. Or maybe even a three-parter. Yeah, maybe being a three-parter might have helped. But anyway, so everything gets resolved really quickly. Davros gets stuck on the Crucible along with Dalek Khan, and they supposedly die, although of course Davros will return, so he probably escaped, maybe in an escape pod or something, and then return to New Skaro, or just plain Skaro, basically, if that wasn't destroyed in the Time War. If he returned to Skaro, and the events of the Series 9 opener happened, but we'll get to that when we get to Series 9. And then the Doctor and companions fly the TARDIS, fly Earth back home with help from Torchwood and Mr. Smith and K9. So for the first time since the end of episode 12, we now have a reason for the supporting characters of the spin-offs to be in the episode when they were sidelined. But we then get one of the best bits of the show, and how could my happy clone in the Whoniversals video talking about the best moments of the show forget about this moment? Okay, but yeah, this one was a fantastic moment where the Doctor and companions and everyone flew Earth back home, and it was an outstanding moment to have Earth return home and everybody basically joyous over it. And then after that, the companions one by one leave. Sarah Jane goes, then Jack and Martha, and then Mickey joins them, and then they go back to Parallel Earth to drop off Rose, Jackie, and the duplicate Doctor. In the parallel universe, due to the fact that they've got to look after the duplicate Doctor, and because he was the one who destroyed the Daleks to save the universe, but because it was with genocide, it was a bit of a cost. So the Doctor gives basically Rose her own Doctor, in a way, a human Doctor who could live and grow old with her, perhaps. So I guess Rose finally gets what she wanted all this time. So it's sort of a happy ending for her, sort of, not so much. It's kind of a mixture. It's well handled in this bit and pretty cool. There's also a fun deleted scene that was cut that had giving the option for the human Doctor to grow his own TARDIS rapidly and expand the process. So instead of taking thousands of years, it could take, I don't know exactly how long, but not long, not that long, maybe a few years perhaps. And yeah, that's basically it. That's this story. This was amazing. Despite the last the last act of episode 13 kind of bucking under its own weight, and lots of stuff going on and lots of characters, even as I was mentioning, the main characters, the companions, start to get sidelined once we got the three Doctors, the main Doctor, the duplicate Doctor, and the Dr. Donna, as referenced by the evening. We also get the Song of Freedom played in its in its glory with the saving Earth moment scene. But despite that, this is still a fantastic story. Stolen Earth is an outstanding setup with basically Infinity War before Infinity War, and was just absolutely amazing, brilliant stuff, beautifully put together, and fantastically focused on the human characters on Earth from past series and from the spin-offs. It was just brilliant and really, really great. Journey's End is also an epic climax, and whilst it doesn't use all of its characters in it as well as Stolen Earth, I think in Stolen Earth all of the characters were used really well. Journey's End, I think all the main characters got used really well in the first half, but in the second half it kind of died down a little bit. But I still think it was really strong there. Fantastic direction from Graham Harper, amazing writing by Russell T Davies, including some amazing quotes and lines throughout both episodes. Performances from all cast members are outstanding, and it's great to see Gwen, Yanto, and Luke and Mr. Smith appear in Doctor Who for the first time, as well as other characters from Torchwood and the Sarah Jane Adventures getting name dropped a few times. Well, once or twice. And K9 also makes a nice cameo at the very end, which is great to have him back. Although this is the second Dalek K9 story where K9 doesn't actually encounter the Daleks on screen. The other one was Destiny of the Daleks, where he was unwell and basically stuck in the TARDIS for a bit. He has faced them off screen in expanded media. He's faced them in audios, namely in the Gallifrey audios, and he's faced them in some comic strips, but he's never actually faced, maybe in books as well, I'm not certain about that one, but he's never actually faced them on screen. So the next time there's a K9 Dalek story to get where both K9 is in a story where there's Daleks, even if it's not a proper Dalek story, if it's just a cameo, then can we have at least K9 meet a Dalek in that story, please? 60th anniversary special. That's one of the things you've got to do. Possibly. I mean, they might not. It's something to look forward to in the future, perhaps. At some point. Anyway, on the whole, despite Journey's End bucking under its own weight towards the end, as Mr. TARDIS Reviews put it in his Stolen Earth Journey's End Dark December review, and he's got a point. It does kind of buckle under its own weight towards the end, but up until that point, it was still a fantastic story. And whilst the buckle under its own weight does mean Journey's End's not 100% amazing, it's still part of an outstanding story set up by the Stolen Earth, and together they managed to succeed in giving us an epic series finale. This is probably the biggest series finale of the show. I mean, okay, maybe Pandora Opens Big Bang might try to top that with the entirety of time and space being very different and then having to be rebooted at the end. But certainly this is the biggest, and also the end of time as well goes pretty big as well. But this was the biggest one at the time, and it seemed that it was getting bigger and bigger each finale up until at least Series 5, Series 6. But yeah, it was an epic adventure, fantastically done. Graham Harper, fantastic direction. Is this his last story? I think it's either this or The Waters of Mars. That's his last Doctor Who script. Direct story that he directed. I think The Waters of Mars might be. If I'm wrong, it's this one. And it's just absolutely amazing. It's also a fantastic story for producer Phil Collinson, who pretty much produced every story of the new series so far, apart from ones done by Susie Liggett, in which case he was a executive producer on those episodes. But this is his last two episodes as producer, and he goes out on a bang. And executive producers and showrunners Russell T Davies and Julie Gardner will not be too far behind him, as they've still got a few more episodes left. And it's an outstanding way to end the 10th Doctor's third and final full series as the Doctor, although, as I mentioned, he's still got a few episodes left in the Specials mini-series that would follow the year later. And also, I fucking love the Daleks in this story. They are just so fantastic, especially in the first episode. Best Supreme Dalek design, I think, with the Red Supreme. Davros, beautiful. Julian Beach is amazing. He's fighting out with Michael Wisher to be the second best Davros, or second best on-screen Davros after Terry Malloy, and it's also great to see the Jadoon in another cameo in the Shadow Proclamation. Some pretty cool stuff there, and it's just an all-out outstanding story. This one is so magnificent and so so brilliant. Also, a quick shout out to Jack McCulloch, aka Jack the Fan Fanatic. This is his favourite new series story. This also was at one point my friend Ollie Pajak, aka Mr. TARDIS Reviews, favourite story, although according to Jack, that's now the Series 3 finale, Utopia Sound of Drums Last of the Time Lords. And before it was this one, it was The End of Time. So a quick shout out for Jack because this is his favourite new series story, and a quick shout out to Ollie because this was his favourite story of all time before he changed it to Utopia the Sound of Drums Last of the Time Lords. It's alright, we can all change our opinions now and again. Anyway, glad you guys enjoyed this story. Right, back to wrap up this review. I am going to be giving The Stolen Earth and Journey's End a 10 out of 10. Yeah, despite Journey's End bucking under its own weight, and I think that's what would cause me to give that episode on its own a 9 out of 10, but Stolen Earth will get a 10, and together the story, like Bad Wolf Parting Ways, which I gave the former a 9 but the latter a 10, and together that became a 10, and that's one of my favourite stories. That's my personal favourite new series story of the show. It even beats out World Enough in Time and The Doctor Falls, which both episodes are 10 out of 10, so that really should be the best one, because both episodes are 10 out of 10, and yet but a 9 and a 10 together is my favourite. But the stories, but that story is a 10 out of 10 as a whole, and so is this one, despite 1 10 and 1 9 episodes. And as Mr. TARDIS Review said in his series 1 to 12 ranking, we basically had 5 10 out of 10 episodes in a row, from Science in the Library to Stolen Earth, and we had never done that before. Not to mention, as I'm doing these as complete stories with these scores, this means that this is the fourth story to get 10 out of 10 in a row. This series has also got 6 10 out of 10s in the series as a whole, including Voyage of the Damned, in my opinion. This series currently has the most 10 out of 10s in any Doctor Who season so far, and I don't think Series 5 to 12 is going to top that. So Doctor Who Series 4 Season 30 is it is my personal favourite series of Doctor Who, and the best series of Doctor Who in my opinion. And I'll talk a bit more about that in the ranking, but we'll just wrap up this review first. So with some spectacular stuff going on in this story, with some great characters, great direction, and fantastic performances all out, and just everybody on their A game. It's just a shame the story buckles under its own weight towards the end, but despite that, it still manages to achieve a spectacular finale and is just downright amazing, and pulls off its achievements really, really well. So, that's it from my review of Doctor Who, The Stolen Earth and Journey's End. Hang on a second, I'm missing something. There was something else that happened at the end of the story that I'm supposed to talk about. What was it? Oh. Right then. Quick thing first. Back in 2017 or 2018, or was it very early, 2019, Doctor Who YouTube channel put out a video about their top 10 companion departures, top 10 saddest companion departures. I think the saddest companion departure was not featured in that video. Heck, they had more upbeat ones like Ian and Barbara's departure, or Mel's departure on that list, and maybe Martha's as well. Those ones are upbeat compared to what we get here, and they missed out this one. And it is, of course, Donna's departure. This is probably sorry, fans who got upset about Rose's departure, including myself back in when I first saw it, but this is probably the saddest companion departure since Perry's in The Trial of a Time Lord, possibly, depending on which version you wanted to look at. If not, then Adric's in Earthshock, because this, again with Rose, they were building up a companion or ally of the Doctor dying in the story. Almost got it with Jackie, but it turns out it's actually Donna. After absorbing the regeneration energy and doing the meta-crisis thing, and now she's part human, part Time Lord, and now it's burning up inside of her, like the Bad Wolf did for Rose in Series 1. So the Doctor has to erase her memories of him, the TARDIS, and everything they did together to make sure she doesn't die, but by doing so, he pretty much kills that version of Donna and makes her go back to what she was before. It does sort of erase all of the character growth throughout the series, but I think that's not a problem considering what the situation is. In fact, if it wasn't down to that character growth, we wouldn't be caring this much if Donna was going to have her mind erased or not. So it actually works, and the whole bit is just, oh boy, I did feel myself starting to get very emotional on this time round. Yeah, starting to have it eye-watery. It's getting, oh, it's pretty heavy, and then that moment, oh boy, yeah, this is definitely the saddest companion departure, and David Tennant and Catherine Tate just, and also the bit where the Doctor has to talk to Sylvia and Wilf about it at the end, and they do amazing jobs. And the final goodbye to Wilf is also really brilliant. Did I mention how much I love Bernard Cribbins? I love Bernard Cribbins. He's so amazing. And they have a kind of emotional departure and a really great emotional end. Fun fact, this story was originally going to end with the deleted scene where the Doctor in the TARDIS was being invaded by two Cybermen, which is a fun deleted scene, but and also has Donna hearing the TARDIS, but sort of maybe slightly recognise it, but maybe not. Apparently, Julie Gardner put her foot down on that, saying that Donna wouldn't be able to recognise the TARDIS if the memories had been taken away. I do like the idea of Donna hearing the TARDIS, but maybe not quite recognising it. It would hint at stuff that comes in the end of time as well. But never mind. I think Judy was right anyway. But I think Judy Gardner was right in having it cut anyway. And also, Doctor Who magazine contributor Benjamin Crook also said that the bit with the Cybermen stuff wasn't a good idea because it devalued the emotion at the very end of the episode, as it was a very sad ending. And it also would continue the trend of the finales sort of being abruptly ended by some sort of Christmas special tie-in, like we saw at the end of Doomsday and Last of the Time Lords. Except if it did happen here, this one would be the nail in the coffin. This one would have killed the mood. It would have been so out of place. As great it is to see the Cybermen in there, it would have killed the mood so much. So it was right to be cut, and the episode ends on a fantastic emotional note. And that deleted scene can now be a great deleted scene to be enjoyed as an alternative ending, but we have to acknowledge the actual ending we got was better. Also, it's not a complete loss. We got the trailer for the next Doctor, which teased the return of the Cybermen, which was exciting. So that was good. But the ending of the episode itself, yeah, that was amazing. Oh boy, I've now probably just extended this video by about another 7 or 8 minutes just by talking about that. After that score ranking, don't worry, the bloopers will be cut and put into its own separate video if there's too many of them, which there probably will be. Okay, so that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching this epic Doctor Who review. I thought it would be a mega one. At the time of recording, it's about to turn 48 minutes. Now it is. Might be shorter, might be longer for you at the moment when watching it. But yeah, this one was a fantastic episode and a fantastic way to end Series 4. This is now officially my favourite series of Doctor Who. Sorry, Series 1, but it's now Series 4, and it's just so good. And I'll talk more about that in the ranking. But that's coming up next, and the next episode that I will be reviewing, I'll quickly do Music of the Spears, the minisode, before we jump into the next proper episode, the next Doctor, and we've now only got 5 episodes with David Tennant as the 10th Doctor left, 6 if you include Dreamland, and Wilfred Mott will be returning for the last 2 episodes to help the 10th Doctor in his final battle. Another big battle. Until then, we've still got a few more stories just before that, and I'll see you guys next time for the first of the 2008 to 10 specials, the 2008 Christmas special, The Next Doctor. I'll see you guys then. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Nicholas Payne Retro YouTube channel.